go silent for the next few minutes. Not because I'm telling you to, because somewhere above your head, right now, a wall is being moved. You can't hear it. You can't see it. But by the time you wake up tomorrow, a room in your life is going to have a completely different shape, and almost nobody watching this is going to know why. Here's what's actually happening. For the last 2 days, the moon has been sitting in Leo. Loud, warm, wanting to be seen, wanting the version of you that performs, that shines, that says, "Look what I built." Tonight, that changes. The moon is packing up and moving into Virgo, and it's not moving into an empty room. Venus has already been living there for almost 2 weeks, quietly rearranging the furniture, deciding what actually deserves space and what's just been taking up square footage out of habit. When the moon walks in and meets Venus already settled, you don't get a party, you get a plan. And plans are what change tomorrow, not performances. Most people will scroll past tonight completely. They'll notice they feel a little different, blame it on being tired, and move on without ever connecting it to anything real. You're not going to be one of them, because I'm about to hand you the exact blueprint for what's shifting and why it matters more than almost any other night this month. I want you to think of the last 2 weeks like a construction site. Leo season handed you the vision, big, bold, maybe a little reckless. You said yes to things. You imagined versions of your life that felt almost embarrassing to want out loud. That's Leo's job, to make you brave enough to draw the blueprint. But a blueprint isn't a building. A blueprint is just intention with good lighting. Tonight, the crew changes. Virgo doesn't care how exciting your vision looked on paper. Virgo walks around with a clipboard asking one question, over and over. Does this actually hold weight? That's the shift you're going to feel, even if you can't name it yet. Some of you are going to feel it as a sudden, almost irritating urge to fix something small, a drawer, an inbox, a sentence you've been meaning to send for a week. Don't dismiss that. That's not random tidiness. That's the psychological signature of a Moon-Venus meeting in a sign built for precision. Your inner architect just got handed a punch list, and something in you knows the big vision doesn't matter if the wiring underneath it is faulty. If you want to understand why this particular handoff carries so much weight, it helps to know what these 2 signs actually represent underneath the memes and the personality quiz version of astrology. Virgo's oldest imagery isn't a critic with a checklist. It's a figure standing in a field, holding wheat, the keeper of the harvest, the one who decides what gets kept and what gets composted. That's a much older, much more useful way to understand tonight than Virgo is picky. Nothing gets thrown away out of spite in a harvest. It gets sorted because winter is coming, and there isn't room to store what won't actually feed you. Venus, meanwhile, has never just been about romance, no matter how many quick-cut videos reduce it to that. Venus is the planet of what you value enough to keep close, and value, real value, is only ever discovered by comparison. You don't know what's worth keeping until something asks you to sort it. Put those 2 together, occupying the same sign. At the exact moment the moon, which governs your emotional instinct, the part of you that reacts before you think, walks directly into their meeting room, and you get a very specific kind of night. Not a night for new beginnings, a night for honest inventory. The kind of night where the emotional part of you finally agrees with the practical part of you about what's actually worth the effort going forward. That agreement, small and unglamorous as it sounds, is rarer than people think. Most nights, your gut wants one thing and your judgment wants another. Tonight, for a few hours, they're sitting at the same table. Let me walk you through what this actually looks like once it lands, because this is where most people miss it. They feel the shift, and they call it a mood. It's not a mood. It's a structural inspection, and it's happening whether you cooperate with it or not. Before I get into the specific signs, I want to be clear about who's going to feel this most intensely, because not everyone experiences a transit like this at the same volume. If you were born under Virgo or Leo, tonight is essentially happening in your own living room. Expect it to feel personal, maybe uncomfortably so. If you're a Taurus or a Libra, the two signs Venus itself calls home, tonight lands as a values check, a sudden clarity about what you're willing to keep investing in and what you're finally ready to let go of. Cancer, you're going to feel an odd kind of relief because the sun is still moving through your sign, and this Virgo energy gives your recent emotional intensity somewhere practical to go. And if you're a Capricorn or a Scorpio, don't be surprised if tonight shows up as unexpected motivation. Earth and water signs tend to metabolize Virgo energy quickly, almost eagerly, like it's a language they were already fluent in. None of this means the other signs are exempt. It just means the volume knob is set differently depending on where you're standing. The first thing you'll likely notice is a change in what your attention wants to land on. Big ideas will suddenly feel less interesting than small, specific ones. You might catch yourself mid-conversation, more interested in the exact word someone used than the general shape of what they meant. That's not you being difficult. That's Virgo's gift, showing up early. The ability to see the load-bearing detail inside something everyone else is treating as decoration. If you've been circling a decision for weeks, unable to commit because the whole picture felt too big to hold, tonight might hand you the one small fact that makes the whole thing suddenly simple. Pay attention to what catches your eye in the next day. It's rarely the obvious thing. It's the detail sitting quietly in the corner, waiting for someone precise enough to notice it. Here's what that looks like in an ordinary day, not a dramatic one. Maybe you've been stuck on a work decision for 2 weeks, weighing pros and cons that never quite tipped the scale. Tonight, you reread one line of an old email and suddenly the whole thing clicks. Not because new information arrived, but because you were finally looking at the right scale. Or maybe it's smaller still. A friend says one sentence in passing, something they've probably said before without you registering it, and this time it lodges somewhere and won't leave. That's the transit working. It's not loud, it's precise. And precise things are easy to miss if you're braced for something dramatic. The second sign is about worth, specifically what you think you deserve, and whether you've been asking for it out loud or just hoping someone notices. Venus doesn't only govern romance. Venus governs value, what you consider worth your time, your money, your attention, your yes. With Venus already anchored in exacting, detail-oriented Virgo and the moon walking straight into that energy, a lot of people are going to have an honest, unglamorous conversation with themselves about where they've been settling. Not settling in the dramatic, headline sense. Settling in the quiet sense, saying it's fine about something that has not, in fact, been fine for a while. If a specific relationship, project, or commitment comes to mind while I'm saying this, that's not a coincidence you should brush past. That's the inspection, finding the crack in the foundation before it becomes a bigger problem. I've watched this show up in 100 different shapes over the years, and it's rarely as dramatic as people expect. It's someone realizing, mid-scroll through old messages, that they've been the one initiating every conversation for months. It's someone doing quiet math on how much unpaid effort they've been putting into a role that was never actually acknowledged. It's someone noticing, almost against their will, that a friendship they call close hasn't asked them a single question in weeks. None of these are emergencies. They're inventory. And the reason tonight surfaces them instead of some other night is simple. Venus in Virgo doesn't do vague dissatisfaction. It hands you the specific line item. Third, expect a wave of practical clarity around something you've been avoiding because it felt too boring to deal with. Leo season is thrilling. Leo season is also, frankly, allergic to paperwork. Whatever got shoved into a drawer during the last few weeks because it wasn't exciting enough to deal with. A budget, an apology you owe, a health habit you keep promising to start next week. Tonight's shift makes that thing suddenly loud again, not in a panicked way, in a you can't unsee it now way. This is one of those signs that people miss because it doesn't feel cosmic. It feels like admin. But admin handled at the right astrological moment moves faster and sticks longer than admin forced through at the wrong one. If you've been dreading a specific task, tonight through tomorrow is a genuinely good window to finally do the thing, because Virgo's energy makes tedious work feel less like a burden and more like relief. Think about the thing you've been putting off that would take less than 20 minutes if you just sat down and did it. The form, the phone call, the one uncomfortable text that would close a loop you've been carrying open in the back of your mind for weeks. Under Leo's influence, that task felt beneath the moment, too small for how big everything else felt. Tonight, it stops feeling small and starts feeling like exactly the right size. People chronically underestimate how much emotional weight gets attached to unfinished small things. It's rarely the big decisions that drain a person. It's the 12 unfinished small ones sitting in the background, each one quietly asking to be closed. Fourth, and this one catches people off guard. You may find yourself more critical of something you usually love without question. A relationship, a project, even your own reflection. This is the part where I need to be honest with you, because a lot of astrology content will tell you only the flattering parts and skip the uncomfortable ones. Virgo's gift is discernment, and discernment doesn't always feel good in the moment. It can feel like doubt. It can feel like disappointment. The difference between healthy discernment and self-sabotage is simple. Discernment asks, what needs adjusting? Self-sabotage asks, what's wrong with me? If tonight brings up criticism, aim it at the plan, not at your worth. The Moon-Venus meeting in Virgo is handing you a punch list, not a verdict. Say the criticism is aimed at a relationship. Discernment sounds like, we haven't had a real conversation in 3 weeks. I want to fix that. Self-sabotage sounds like, maybe I'm just hard to love. Say it's aimed at a project you're proud of. Discernment sounds like, the third section is weaker than the rest. I know exactly how to strengthen it. Self-sabotage sounds like, maybe this was never good enough to begin with. Same emotional trigger tonight, 2 completely different destinations, depending on which sentence you let finish. If you notice yourself sliding toward the second version of either of those, that's your cue to pause, not push through. Discernment builds something. Self-sabotage just tears something down and calls it honesty. Fifth, there's a real chance you'll feel an unexpected pull toward routine, toward the exact structures you've been avoiding because they felt restrictive. A schedule, a morning ritual, a boundary you keep meaning to set with someone who takes more than they give. Understand what's happening underneath that pull. Structure, at this particular astrological moment, isn't a cage, it's scaffolding. Scaffolding exists for exactly one reason, so something taller and more ambitious can be built safely on top of it later. Everyone who resists this sign tends to say the same thing afterward. I wish I had just built the habit when it was easy to start. Tonight, it's easy to start. That won't always be true. You'll know this sign by how oddly satisfying the boring version of the day sounds when it crosses your mind. Going to bed at a decent hour, drinking water before coffee, answering the message you've been rehearsing instead of just thinking about answering it. Under most transits, that list reads like a chore. Tonight, it reads like relief, almost like comfort food for your nervous system. That flip in how structure feels emotionally is worth noticing because it usually only lasts a day or two before Leo's louder, more spontaneous energy starts pulling attention elsewhere again. Whatever scaffolding you put up in this window tends to still be standing weeks later, long after the mood that built it has faded. Sixth, with Mercury still moving retrograde through this same window, don't be surprised if something or someone from earlier in the summer resurfaces uninvited. A message you never finished. A person you thought you were done thinking about. An old version of a plan that got abandoned halfway. Mercury retrograde has a well-earned reputation for reintroducing unfinished business and landing that reintroduction right as the moon meets careful, detail-oriented Venus in Virgo means you're being given an unusually clear-headed window to actually resolve it instead of just reacting to it. If something old resurfaces in the next day or two, resist the urge to treat it as a distraction from tonight's shift. It is the shift. It's the universe handing you back an unfinished sentence at the exact moment you finally have the precision to finish it properly. This is different from the usual Mercury retrograde chaos people complain about. The missed flights, the crossed wires, the typo in the important email. Landing during a Virgo Moon-Venus meeting changes the character of it entirely. Instead of confusion, you get clarity about something you were confused by earlier in the retrograde. Instead of a miscommunication, you get the exact words you couldn't find 3 weeks ago when you tried to explain how you felt about something. If an old conversation reopens in your head, uninvited over the next day, don't treat it as static. Treat it as a second draft. You're being handed the same material with better tools this time. And here's the seventh sign, the quiet one. The one almost nobody names because it doesn't look like a sign at all. A feeling of getting ready. Not excitement exactly, not anxiety either. Something closer to the feeling you get the night before a trip when the bag is packed and there's nothing left to do but wait for morning. That feeling is accurate and it's not random. The sun is still moving through Cancer right now, but it's only days away from crossing into Leo, the sign the moon just left, which means the very structure being fine-tuned tonight in quiet, unglamorous Virgo is the exact structure you're about to need when the spotlight of Leo season swings back around. Tonight isn't separate from that bigger shift. Tonight is the rehearsal nobody sees, right before the show everybody will. If you've ever watched someone walk into a room and immediately command it without seeming to try, you are probably watching the visible result of an invisible night like this one, weeks earlier, that nobody else clocked. They didn't become that composed under pressure. They became that composed in private, on an unremarkable evening, doing something small and precise that quietly reset what they were capable of. That's what tonight is offering you, not a performance. The 5 minutes before the performance, when everything either gets checked or gets skipped. This is the part I actually want you to sit with, because it's the whole reason this particular night matters more than an average moon transit. Most moon shifts pass through your life the way weather does, noticeable for a few hours, gone by the next sign change. This one is different because of the timing. You have a moon leaving a fire sign that just spent 2 days convincing you to want more, walking directly into an earth sign already occupied by the planet of value and worth, while the messenger planet moves backward through the sky, reopening old business. All of it happening in the final stretch before the sun itself crosses into the sign the moon just abandoned. That's not one event. That's 4 systems syncing up at once, and systems that sync rarely announce themselves loudly. They just quietly reset the terms for what comes next. Think about how rarely your emotions, your values, your unfinished business, and your bigger seasonal timing actually line up on the same night. Most of the time, they're pulling in slightly different directions. You feel one thing, want another, still owe a resolution to a third, all while the calendar pushes you towards some deadline that has nothing to do with any of it. Alignment like tonight's doesn't happen because you did something right. It happens because the sky occasionally hands out a night where the internal and the external stop arguing with each other for a few hours. Those nights are rare enough that they deserve more attention than a passing mood usually gets, and common enough that if you know what to look for, you won't have to wait years for the next one. There's one more layer worth knowing because it changes how sharp tonight's edges actually feel. Shortly after the moon settles into Virgo, it moves into gentle contact with Chiron, the point in the sky astrologers associate with old wounds, specifically the ones tied to feeling not good enough. That contact softens everything I've described so far. It means the inspection happening tonight isn't a cold one. There's an undertone of forgiveness built into it, a sense that whatever gets found on the punch list doesn't need to be treated as evidence against you, just as information. If tonight's clarity brings up an old wound instead of just a practical task, a memory of being criticized unfairly, a pattern of feeling like your effort was never quite enough, let it surface without immediately trying to fix it. Some of what shows up tonight isn't asking to be solved. It's just asking to finally be seen clearly, gently, without the usual defensiveness getting in the way first. There's a work-specific version of this shift worth naming separately, because so many people only think about transits in terms of love and mood and skip right past the professional side. If you've been coasting on charisma at work, talking a good idea through a meeting, getting people excited, riding on momentum instead of documentation, tonight is the moment that catches up with you in a helpful way rather than a punishing one. Somebody may ask for the details behind the pitch. A deadline that felt far away suddenly feels close. Don't panic if that happens. It's not bad timing. It's Virgo asking Leo's big idea to finally show its work, and if you built the idea honestly, showing the work only makes it stronger. This is a genuinely good window to write the follow-up email you've been avoiding, to double-check the numbers before someone else finds the error first, to turn the exciting pitch into the boring, reliable document that actually gets it approved. Excitement gets a project greenlit. Precision is what keeps it funded. One more, because Venus deserves its own separate mention beyond the worth conversation we already had. This one is specifically about connection. Don't be surprised if sometime in the next day you feel a pull towards someone you haven't reached out to in a while, not out of loneliness, but out of something closer to appreciation. Virgo gets a reputation for coldness it doesn't actually deserve. What Virgo is actually good at is noticing effort, the specific, unglamorous effort someone put in that never got acknowledged out loud. Tonight is a good night to be the one who names it. A message that says, plainly, "I noticed what you did, and I don't think I ever said thank you," lands differently under this sky than it would on an ordinary Tuesday. It's precise, it's earned, and precise, earned words are exactly the currency this transit trades in. This works in the other direction too. If someone reaches out to you in the next day with something that sounds oddly specific, a memory, a detail, a thank you weren't expecting, resist the urge to brush it off as small talk. Under this sky, specific gestures are rarely small. They're the exact kind of communication this transit makes possible, precisely because Venus in Virgo doesn't deal in grand romantic declarations. It deals in the accurate, well-chosen sentence that proves someone was actually paying attention. Before I tell you what happens if you miss this, I want to name the one mistake I watch people make with almost every Virgo transit, because it undoes most of the value before it even gets a chance to land. The mistake is treating precision like punishment. The moment this energy shows up, a lot of people immediately turn it inward as harshness toward their body, their choices, their pace, their past. That's not what this transit is asking for. A good inspector doesn't hate the building. A good inspector respects the building enough to check it properly. There's a version of tonight where you spend the next day picking yourself apart over things you can't change anymore. And there's a version where you spend it making 1 or 2 adjustments to things you actually can. Only one of those versions is what the sky is offering. The other one is just an old habit, wearing tonight's energy as a costume. You'll know you've slipped into the wrong version if the inner voice starts sounding less like a plan and more like a prosecutor. If it's listing everything that's wrong with you instead of naming one specific thing that's fixable. The redirect is simple, even if it doesn't feel simple in the moment. Every time that voice generalizes, hand it something specific instead. Not, "I always mess this up," but "this one message needs a follow-up." Not, "I'm bad with money," but "this one subscription needs to be cancelled." Virgo energy, used correctly, is one of the kindest transits in the entire zodiac because it never asks you to overhaul your whole life. It only ever asks for the next specific doable thing. So what happens if you miss it? Honestly, nothing catastrophic. Nobody's punished for not noticing a moon transit. But here's the pattern I've watched play out again and again with people who ignore nights like this one. The vision from Leo season stays exactly that, a vision. Unrefined, untested, beautiful in theory, and shaky the moment real weight gets put on it. Then, when the spotlight swings back a few weeks from now and the moment actually arrives to perform, to show up, to be seen, doing the thing you said you wanted, the foundation isn't there. Not because the desire wasn't real, because the inspection got skipped. The people who do notice nights like tonight tend to describe the same thing afterward. Not a dramatic transformation, just a quiet sense that when their moment came, they were somehow ready for it, without fully remembering why. That gap between those two outcomes rarely announces itself in the moment. It shows up weeks later, in hindsight, as the difference between someone who seems to catch every opportunity that comes their way and someone who watches the same opportunities slip past for reasons they can't quite explain. It's almost never talent separating those two people. It's much more often a series of small, unremarkable nights, handled or ignored, quietly compounding into either readiness or regret. You don't need to do anything elaborate with this information. You don't need a ritual. You don't need a journal page filled front to back. What you actually need is smaller and more honest than that. Pick one thing, one drawer, one conversation, one overdue task, one habit you've been meaning to start. Something small enough to finish before you sleep, or before this time tomorrow. That's the whole assignment. Virgo doesn't reward grand gestures. It rewards the one precise adjustment made at the right moment, because that's how load-bearing walls actually get reinforced, not all at once, one bolt at a time, tightened correctly. I want to know which sign landed for you, so tell me honestly in the comments. Was it the small detail catching your eye, the uncomfortable clarity about where you've been settling, the old thing resurfacing out of nowhere, or that quiet feeling of getting ready for something you can't quite name yet. I read these. I notice patterns across hundreds of comments, and I promise you, tonight is not landing the same way for everyone, which is exactly why I want to hear your version of it, not just agree with mine. Tell me your sun sign and your rising sign if you know it, because the two of those together usually explain why this transit is showing up in such a specific corner of your life instead of everywhere at once. If you only know your sun sign, that's fine too. Start there. I read through these more carefully than you'd expect, and some of the most accurate patterns I've noticed in this content didn't come from a textbook. They came from watching what hundreds of real people reported feeling on the exact same night, compared against what the sky was actually doing. That's the kind of accuracy no algorithm hands you. That only comes from a real audience being honest in a comments section. And if you're the kind of person who likes proof, instead of just taking my word for it, set a reminder right now to come back tomorrow and tell me whether something specific actually shifted. Not vaguely, specifically. Did the conversation happen? Did the task get done? Did the old thing that resurfaced finally get resolved? I'd genuinely rather you hold this content accountable than just nod along with it. Astrology content only stays honest when the people watching it keep it honest. Save this video before you close the app, even if you don't watch it again tonight. Nights like this one are easy to forget by morning, once the ordinary noise of the day comes back in, and having it saved somewhere means you can check back against what actually happened instead of trusting your memory to hold on to something this specific. And if this is the first time you've caught one of these transits while it was actually happening, instead of finding out about it 3 days late, stay, not out of obligation. Because the version of this channel that exists to catch things exactly when they're happening, not after, is the version that's actually useful to you. Following it means you stop missing the quiet nights like this one. The nights that don't trend, the nights that don't get the big dramatic headlines, but that quietly decide how ready you'll be when the loud, undeniable moments finally show up. Because here's the truth underneath everything I just told you. You are not someone who needs a spotlight to prove something is real. You are someone who builds the thing correctly first, in private, with no one watching, and lets the spotlight find it later, already finished, already solid, already able to hold whatever gets put on top of it. Think back to every time in your life something finally worked. Not the moment it was announced, but the actual moment it became true. I'd bet almost none of those moments happened on a stage. They happened in ordinary rooms, on ordinary nights, in the specific unglamorous minutes when nobody was watching and something got fixed, finished, or finally said out loud. Tonight is one of those minutes. It doesn't look like much from the outside. It never does. That's exactly why so many people scroll past nights like this one, waiting for something louder to pay attention to, and end up wondering later why the loud moments never quite held together the way they hoped. You don't have to wonder that this time. The blueprint already exists. You drew it yourself these past 2 weeks, whether you called it that or not. Tonight isn't asking you to dream bigger. It's asking you to walk through the building you already designed and tighten what's loose before anyone else steps inside it. That's a smaller task than it sounds, and a more powerful one than it looks. Quietly, without asking your permission, the sky just handed you the tools to do exactly that. What you build with them by tomorrow is the only part that was ever actually up to you.